What's up? This is Hawx, Wolfie. I'm glad to be on.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D Podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Live and in Color with Wolfie D Podcast. Hey, Wolfie, I think it was the other day you said, hey, Jimmy, have you seen this TV show called Heels? And I said, I've been wanting to, man. I just haven't done it. You were like, look, Starz has got this offer. You go ahead and sign up for it. And I was signed up, and I'd already watched the 5 episodes by the time I texted you the next time. So
yeah, I think it was under 12 hours you did 5 episodes, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and kind of spill the beans this episode, even though it's live and in color. It's pre-taped and in color this time because we have got Hawx on right now. He is the stunt coordinator and the trainer of the Heels team. All the actors. He's actually got a character on the show too. Luke, thank you for joining us.
What's up, man? No, I'm glad to be on. Thanks for having me out.
Yes, sir. And like I said, we're going to talk Heels today because I'm a huge mark for that show, by the way. And what I want to talk about first, man, everybody know you run Wildkat Wrestling down in Louisiana. You've been in the business for quite a while. I think you and I even wrestled each other back in the early 2000s. Maybe, was that for Bill Barron's?
It's for Bill Barron's, yeah. I think like 2000, probably early 2003-ish. Is when I think it was. We had a little program in Cornelia, Georgia for Wildside, which was cool because you were the first like real big name outside of the XPW guys and stuff that I worked at, and when I was doing the XPW stuff, like you were the first big name that I got a chance to work with and actually learn some stuff from, and I really appreciate that because back then, I'm from Louisiana, New Orleans to be exact, and there's not a lot of wrestling around here, and the guys that are around here aren't really up to par. Yeah. And, and that's not to take a dump on anybody. It just is what it is. There's a lot of bad independent wrestling everywhere, especially across, I say especially across the South, but it's really everywhere. And I noticed that going to different parts of different regions, Yeah. But, you go to some parts of Mississippi and Alabama, and I'm sure in Tennessee and Louisiana, it gets rough. And these guys think they're veterans, and they've never really been out of, like, Houma, Louisiana. They've been wrestling in Houma, Louisiana for 15 years, doing one show a month, and they're not really properly trained. So that was kind of the guys I came up around. Yeah. And they really didn't care for me. They kept treating me bad. And I had a mouth on me because I knew these guys were – I know they were as my son likes to say, Gordon, my 10-year-old likes to say, oh, it's Gordon Ramsay, which means it's dog shit. So Gordon Ramsay always says, oh, this is dog shit, you know what I mean? So my 10-year-old, whenever I ask my 10-year-old, what do you think? He goes, it's Gordon Ramsay. But yeah, that's what I grew up around. So it was cool to, be able to work with you and learn some things. You were doing the Slash character at the time, and it was kind of, I think it was still fairly new at the time. I think you'd only been doing it a couple of years maybe at that point.
You're right. Around 2000 is when I changed because I felt like the gimmick, I had outgrown it. And as you'll see, like John Cena compared, like when he first started doing it, PG-13 was 2 young punks. Then I get older and I just look like an older dude in some shorts. And so compare that John Cena looking like Marky Mark and then how he does today looking like Ernest Goes to Camp. You see, so I just wanted to change the gimmick up because I felt like I had outgrown it. But yeah, that's about the time I started doing Slash. What is your history of Memphis wrestling, Luke?
So I grew up mostly on WWF because that was all available. Now I was a poor white trash kid, bro. I grew up. If some people on here may know me, some people may not know me, and they might not know my history. Mm-hmm. But I had a really, really rough life growing up, and I was in and out of. I never had a stable environment. Drugs, alcohol, parents, in and out of jail, all that stuff. So, and I was in a boys' home. I got out at 15, got adopted, but like I never had a stable environment, so I didn't have any way to, always watch wrestling. Yeah. But wrestling was my escape from life. So It was the only thing I cared about from a real early age. It was the only thing that really got my mind off of things. And then, like, I was always passionate about it. It was something I always wanted to do, and it never left me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was mostly, like, you know, again, young age, I grew up watching, like, you know, my favorites were the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and those guys as a young kid because they were like superheroes. I was a Warrior guy over a Hogan guy. Yeah. But as I got into like early teenage years, like 11, 12, 13, I really started to appreciate like Rick Rude and Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. He was on Mr. Perfect. And, like those work rates. I remember watching Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam. And I didn't watch it live. We used to rent tapes from the library. Library would have wrestling tapes. You get a library card and you go there and you get it for free, right? So I would go rent the VHS tapes when they would come out and watching. I remember watching that match and kind of put me on a whole different spectrum as far as wrestling went because of just the athleticism and the things they did and how amazing the match was. Right. And it really made me fall in love with that kind of style. Instead of, you know, just the showmanship. I love the showmanship as well. It's like the big characters and the superhero looking. But Memphis wrestling came along later in my life because of USWA was on television here at some point on like one of the local access channels, same way as ECW was. Right. So I would stay up. I don't remember what channel it was, but I would stay up late to watch that and watch Lance Russell and all those guys commentate. And, you know, and there were so many guys in and out. You know, Lawler was always there. Brian Christopher was always there. I don't think you were there at that point. Maybe you came in at some point because they used to fluctuate. It was weird because I didn't understand it because sometimes you would see a guy that was on WWE TV, WWF television, and he'd be there. Right. So I didn't know anything about developmental or work and all that stuff. So I just thought it was cool to see a local promotion or like you know, somewhere big. And then what I started to find out was I started working with the local companies here. Mm-hmm. And again, they weren't really good, but it was all we had. So I would go and they would let me hang out as a kid and do all that crap, and I'd help put up the ring and I'd meet the local guys. And then I would find out some of the guys were coming up through the ranks and they were going through Memphis and they were, you know, like, you know, Bob Holly was a big name here. Like he was one of the guys, the Samoans, like Ethmo. And now this is later on. This is like towards the end of high school, you know, like my sophomore, junior days. But like Ethmo and Maddie, they were 3 Minute Warning, like, and they were going up to Memphis at first and, you know, working up there. And I was like, oh, the way to WWE is through Memphis. That's what I thought. Like, you know, if you want to go to WWF, you have to go through Memphis. Right. So, but it was cool because it was different. You know, it wasn't the big spectacular production with all the fireworks. It was just good old wrestling. Right. So, and I really dug it because it was different. And then I wasn't used to seeing Jerry Lawler as a babyface because I hated him as a heel. He did such a good job as a heel as a kid. I couldn't stand him. I hated him. Like, I wanted to jump over the railing and punch Jerry Lawler in the face. And I was like, man, if I would go to a show, I'm jumping the railing and I'm hitting Jerry Lawler. Thank God I didn't because I would have got my ass kicked back then. But you know, he did his job, right? And then you turn on Memphis wrestling and you see him as the big star and the baby face and the one taking up everybody and doing things the right way. And I was like, this is different. All right, so I got turned on to a lot of things from that and just different styles. And I'm a Southern boy, so I appreciate the Southern style more than anything. I'm not a big fan of all the choreography and all that stuff. And I know it's talent. Look, I'm not trying to crap on it. It's just, you know how it is. You're old school, bro. And you came up in a different time. You know, you're before me. So you guys told stories. Yeah. And I don't see a lot of storytelling today. I'm not saying it's not great. I'm not saying it's not talented. I'm not saying there's a lot of good wrestlers. I just really, really miss being emotionally involved and being, told a story.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's not, like you said, it's not a knock, and I say this all the time, not a knock on these guys because they're talented, they're athletic. It's just not what I signed up for. It's not the same product, and therefore, they'd be like, he's bitter. No, I'm not bitter. I just don't like what's on now. It's not what I signed up for. It's not the same thing. You're not emotionally invested in the whole thing. I know they think, they sell. No, they don't sell. And it's so everything's so choreographed and telegraphed, and just everything. It looks like they're working together instead of working against each other, which we've always been working together, but you make it look like you're working against each other, not with each other. And I actually, it's funny you say that, because I was at work yesterday at the dealership, and it was kind of slow, and I flipped on it was a ROH show. Two guys, I don't know their names. They didn't look good, and everything they did was terrible. I mean, athletic, but terrible. It just didn't make sense. I just couldn't watch it anymore. And again, athletic probably did some shit that I can't do or could never do. But it's just not the same. But so let's get into what I really want to talk about, which is your show. And Jimmy, I'm going to let you start it out. I know you got probably a notebook full of questions for him. So go ahead with your first question about the show Heels.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, man, I love what y'all are doing. You know, the actual wrestling part of it, and also seems like good writing and good acting. So basically, my first question is, how long before filming did you all start training the actors on the process of being pro wrestlers?
So we didn't get a lot of time to train them. And this is the deal. We had a lot of hoops to jump through, and the team did a wonderful job of building this stage with a gym and a wrestling ring in it. And that's what every day, every morning we went in and we did physical weight training, and then we did wrestling training. But we would wrestle per the script. You know, I wasn't teaching these guys how to run full matches or anything else like that. We barely had time to get in what we had to get in, because you got to think, we were one of the first productions. I think we were actually the first production up and running during COVID. Wow. So, because the show was pushed because of COVID, like we knew all the stuff prior. Like we knew we were getting into it. We knew where we were going. And then I think I was supposed to be out there early March was when we were originally supposed to start, I think it was. And then COVID hit, and it was like, oh, everything's on hold. And then I went into a couple month hiatus where, like everybody else, where the world shut down, right? And we don't know what's going on. I said, look, I'm not the kind of guy that could sit home. So after like 2 or so months of sitting home, I was like, man, you know, there's a good chance we might not wrestle or film for the rest of the year. And everybody had disposable income or they seemed to look like they had disposable income because everybody was blowing money and ordering stuff online. And, you know, you see, we live in a social media world, so we see people bragging about what they're buying and things they're doing. And I was like, man, well, maybe this is a good time for me to make some money off personal training instead of sitting home and not making anything. So I was like, I'm not gonna, you know, and I wasn't financially strapped, thank God, but at the same time, I just can't sit around. And I'm so used to working, going and trying to, you know, and wearing 2 different hats that I was like, look, I need to do something. So I went and did a photo shoot. I put some ads together and stuff. And I said, I'm just going to start personal training until eventually I can go back to work again. If we can ever go back to work, because nobody knew, because we never experienced something like this, right?
Right.
Well, I put out an ad. The next day I had a full client roster. You know, I had 8 hours of training. So literally the next day. And that same day, it was crazy. It literally happened overnight. Like I put out the ad. I got several messages at night saying, can I start tomorrow? Because everybody was free. Nobody had work to go to. You know, everybody had, you know, again, they were getting money from the government. So they were a little, you know, I don't know. People had money to spend. So I was like, yeah. So I started with a full schedule. That same day that I started, I got a call going, hey, yeah, we're going to start up in 2 weeks in Georgia. We need you out here. So I was like, oh, holy shit. I just took on 8 clients. Yeah, you know, like I don't want to screw these people over. So, and I was like, I also don't know if it's going to go forward because we might get shut down again. You know, they might decide to pull the plug because of COVID. So I waited about a week, made sure everything was good. I secretly started packing up my house and doing everything. And my lease was up where I was at, and we were about to buy a house anyway. So I was like, look, I told my old lady, you got to go move in with our friend. I'm going to pack, go to Georgia, do this, you know, and she's super supportive. So I waited about a week. Everything was good to go. They're like, you start this day, you got to be here this day. So that's when I told the clients, I said, look, I know we just started, but I have to go to Georgia. I called in to work. I wasn't expecting to go so early due to COVID, but I'll help online. I'll do whatever I can. And I went to work, man, and we started pretty quickly. We didn't have a lot of prep time, again, because like everything was off the whim. So I was under the impression that we'd be training them fully, teaching them how to wrestle, and we didn't have time for that. So we went with let's teach them per script, whatever the script has, and we did some changes and stuff to things a lot. But the guys really did a good job, the guys and girls, because what happened was, they weren't just training. They had all these scenes to film. And if you watch the show, you see how much dialogue's in the show. So can you imagine, having to, and we're filming every day. So you got to memorize 5 pages of dialogue, which is a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
And then you have to work out, and then you have to learn, and then imagine the dialogue on top of the wrestling, the times where you have to perform in the wrestling ring and perform the dialogue.
Right.
So, and these guys really, they did such a good job, and they had such a good attitude, and they all wanted to work hard. So, and the hardest two to get in there were Steven and Xander, because they were the busiest. The others were really busy as well, but they're the two leads where the show's really based around. So they had zero free time.
Yeah.
So the way, I'm really, really, really amazed on how well they did and how good they picked up on things and how hard they worked with the little bit of time they had, and how, you got to say stressed, because they were just getting hammered from all ends. Diet, work out, learn some wrestling, learn your dialogue, do all your promotional stuff, go take your pictures, do everything. These guys will work and work and work and work. And that's what you sign up for. But at the same time, it was a lot, man. So I've never seen somebody make that transition, especially actors. You got to think about this. I'm from the stunt world, right? I broke into film business doing stunts. And I do acting, but I broke in doing stunts. And I still do a lot of stunts. And I'm used to actors not really doing much of anything physical. Most actors don't want to do things physical, and productions don't want them to because they don't want to risk getting them hurt. It was different with heels. It was like, this has to be authentic. We can't use stunt guys doing whole matches. We can't use wrestlers doing whole matches. We have to show these guys being physical and doing everything. And that was what really was, that was the difference in the show. Not just good writing, but showing these guys work really hard. So when you watch these guys, 95% of what they're doing is them doing it.
Wow. Hey, let me stop you real quick, because I kind of want to lead into something else that I was going to ask you. When you said 95%, that was actually going to be my next question, was how much did each guy do? But beyond that, I was a huge fan of Arrow, so I know him. I was also a huge fan of Vikings, so I know Xander from that show. And I always thought, this is just a little side thing, does he not look like Chase Stevens, like a young Chase Stevens? I mean, for real. I said that before he was on this show. When he was on Vikings, I sent Chase a message. You're doing a great job on Vikings. Anyway.
Hey, just not half as wild. Just not half as wild as Chase.
Right. So my next question would be, out of the bunch, who could you pick out of there, and who would be the most successful actual wrestler?
A couple of people asked me that question already, and I'm just saying it's tough because they all do so well, right? I mean, you look at James Harrison, who's an NFL, top athlete specimen, right? The guy is just a stud, hard worker, and he picked up things quick. He never used a stunt double at all. Yeah. Like his stunt double was just sitting there. Gary Peebles is a stunt double who is extremely talented, but Gary would get frustrated because Gary wants to do things because he's super athletic, super hard worker. I mean, look, we had a gym there, right? The gym was for us. The first thing we did was train when we go in every day. Mm-hmm. That dude still woke up at 5 in the morning. Well, he woke up at probably 4 in the morning and went to his gym at 5 when it opened, trained at his gym, and then came straight to the Heels gym. Mm-hmm. So, and that was every day. That just goes to show you the dedication that this guy had. Yeah. He was getting paid to train, and he was still going and training early on his off time. So, but James was so athletic, and James was so insistent on doing everything on his own that. What were you going to tell him? No, I mean he was doing it.
Surprisingly, man, I was. He's not a bad actor.
No, he's a good actor. He's a great actor. He did. He did. Nobody knew what to expect, right? And then you watch episode 2 and 3, and he goes into these long pages of dialogue, And you're going, holy damn, this guy's pretty good. Yeah. But like the guy he went into it with, like his first scene's Rooster, Alan Milano, that guy, like he's my pick because, man, he's never watched wrestling, right? He wasn't a big fan of wrestling. He didn't hate wrestling. He's seen it, and he's watched it, but he didn't grow up watching wrestling.
Right.
He wanted to do as much as he could, and he was super athletic. And this is an actor, right? But he, killed himself in the gym every day, killed himself in the ring, would ask, hey, can we go over some stuff? Hey, I want to learn some stuff. Hey, I mean, all of them. But like I said, like Xander and Steven didn't have a lot of free time. So it was hard to squeeze those guys in, and they did an amazing job with the little bit they had. And Xander wanted to do more, but he just didn't have time. Xander always wanted to learn. Xander's like, when can we get in the ring? When can we get in the ring? I'm trying to make time. But it was like production was just pulling him out, right? But man, all of them. Trey Tucker, who plays Bobby Pin, Duke Roberts, who plays Big Jim, was a lifelong wrestling fan. Loves it, absolutely loves it. And he got to do at least a bit of wrestling on the show. So all his free time, because like, I don't want to give any storylines away if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, please don't. I'll be so pissed.
So you'll see that like you'll see Duke's character, Big Jim, doesn't wrestle a lot, but he's the biggest wrestling fan. So he had a lot of free time. All his free time is he's actually close with my son Perry, PJ. So they would just get together and train and wrestle all day long. So like he would pick up things. He's like, man, I want to wrestle 4 matches. I want to do a match outside of this. I want to do, he wanted to do things. They all did, but like Duke had the free time, so Duke would like really put the time in training. It's crazy, man. And everybody had a different approach and a different angle, but all did well.
Awesome.
Who is the Wild Bill character based on, and why is it Wolfie D? I'm just kidding. It's got to be P.S. Hayes, right? That's got to be Michael P.S. Hayes and Jake, maybe a little bit.
Well, I think it really wasn't based on anybody. You'll see little, everybody gets these little bits in there. Again, I don't want to give any storylines away from the show if you haven't watched it yet. So you'll see clips where you think, oh, well, I heard a story like that happened in pro wrestling, and whoever's involved. Like there's an angle on there with Wild Bill on an airplane. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. It's on the airplane. So everybody's like, oh, I heard that must be based off the plane ride from hell that actually happens on Dark Side of the Ring. I think tonight, right? It comes out on Dark Side of the Ring. I think tonight. And I don't know. I don't know if it was based off of that or if it was just something they wrote. Michael Waldron, who's one of Hollywood's hottest writers right now, writes Loki, Doctor Strange, and a million other things, is the one who wrote this project. So, and Michael Malley, Rick and Morty, he does a lot of stuff. Michael Malley, the showrunner, writes as well on this and is in on the writing. But Michael Malley wasn't a wrestling fan. He didn't grow up watching wrestling, where Michael Waldron loved wrestling. So I don't know if he just heard like a story and then decided to, write a little bit off of that story or what. But I don't think the character was really based off of anybody. But I do know that Chris Fowler, who plays Wild Bill, had some characters that he really went off of. Like I know Terry Funk was a big influence for him doing the character. Right? He always, when we would talk, he really dug Terry Funk. So there's a mixture of several guys that he put into it, that he would watch and he would study.
And so on the Wild Bill character, Damian Wayne is the stunt double for him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Damian's going around telling everybody that the plane scene, that's actually his penis. Is that true or false?
I can't confirm because I've never seen Damian's penis.
Say that. I'm just kidding. I'm giving him a hard time. If he listens to this, I hope he does.
So, like you said, basically the director, Peter Segal, Naked Gun, Tommy Boy, Nutty Professor, 51st Dates, Longest Yard, Michael Waldron, like you said, Loki, Doctor Strange, Rick and Morty. You've got Green Arrow. You've got Xander, who was Bjorn Lothbrok on Vikings. But one of the coolest characters, I think, on there is Crystal. I feel like big things are coming for her. Dude, she did a Frankensteiner in the parking lot,
Yeah, phenomenal. And look, I had a fight to put that in there, that Frankensteiner. So
that's amazing.
I really had a fight to get that in there because they wanted something that wasn't hokey but was still wrestling-ish, to take that guy out. So I was like, we can do this unexpectedly. she can come out of nowhere and throw this, and it would look real. You know, like it was just something that added. It wasn't just simple, you know, punch, kick, or like a grab and just DDTing somebody. It was something flashy. Yeah. So, they thought at first that it wouldn't work. You know, they're like, that's a little too hokey. I said, this is early on. Like that was the first like physical thing we shot before we did any wrestling or anything. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I was like, man, you know what? I'm just going to shoot this, and then I'm going to go show it to them, and then I'll let them make the decision from there. Because at first they didn't like the idea, and then once we shot it and we showed them, they were like, yeah, that's badass. Let's do that. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to think though, these guys don't vision things. Like Pete Segal is a genius, right? A genius in filmmaking, but they're not wrestlers. So they don't envision things the way we envision things, or you know, their visions are a little different. So sometimes we got to break it down and really show them what we're talking about, and then to catch their eye and go, oh, okay, I understand what you're saying. I understand why that would be effective. So, and it was things like that. I mean, look, I worked with Pete, and you know, these guys, I haven't worked with anybody from this crew before, other than like my guys that worked on Wildkat, my kid, and all that. But this is my first time working with everybody from top to bottom on this crew, the actors, the producers. So they came in, you know, only knowing of me, but not knowing me. And once they seen the work that I did, you know, they had already got wind. They were like, hey, this guy's the guy for the project. This guy's super talented. It was cool to hear the things that, you know, the reasons why they wanted me there, and to see the people who like reached out and said, hey, you know, this is Luke's project. Luke will knock this out the park.
That's good.
So it was cool because, you know, again, they didn't know me, but we earned each other's trust, and I didn't have to earn so much of you know, they didn't have to earn so much of my trust because they're the boss, right? Like I'm lucky to have the opportunity. Yeah. But
I mean, you had a good resume, man. I mean, I didn't know this. You know, in leading up to talking to you today, both Jimmy and I, you know, did a little research. Man, you got some films under your belt. I mean, Logan, the Fast and the Furious series. I mean, I think I saw like 46 credits with your name as far as films of stunt work and maybe cameos and things like that. I seen a picture of you getting stabbed through the face by Wolverine on Logan and things. So you had a good resume.
Yeah. So I actually have a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I see, I screwed up on this because I did a terrible job, and I did a terrible job with wrestling on this as well. Like my son keeps track of every match he does. Like he writes every match down, where it was at, you know, how long it was, when he lost, all that stuff. My son keeps track of everything from day one of his career. And I never did any of that. So, and I didn't do it with films. But as far as IMDb goes, like a lot of that stuff is entered by the production, right? So you can enter it too, but a lot is entered by production. So I was kind of late on that train, so I'm missing a ton of credits. And I've done so much that like you, Wolfie, you can't tell me all the guys you wrestled. You probably can't tell me, you know, the last 20 guys you wrestled, right? Yeah. It's just, that's how it is. I've been fortunate enough to have a good career in films, whether it be acting in stunts or one or the other, that I've got over 100 credits. Yeah. And it's been, and, you know, and some are a lot, it's good. So some are a lot bigger than others, man. But I worked really hard at it, and I'm still working hard at it. So,
you talk about forgetting things. I've told this story, I believe, on here before, but it's probably new to you. When Dusty Rhodes died, this Mark on Facebook sent me a message. Actually, I think he was the promoter of the show, but at the time I didn't put the two together or whatever. But anyway, this guy,
still a Martian.
Yeah. He says, Wolfie, he said, man, it's too bad about Dusty, man. I remember that time you and him had a match in Kentucky and blah, blah, blah. And I text back, I said, I ain't never wrestled no fucking Dusty Rhodes. I mean, I knew I'd been around Dusty, right?
Yeah.
But I said, I ain't never wrestled him. And he said, yeah, you did. I got pictures. And I'll be damned if he didn't send me pictures of it. And I was like, well, how did I forget that?
Hey, that's how it is, bro. That's how it is. Because it turns into a job. It's not that you're not passionate about it, but it's a job and you're doing so much, you can't keep up.
Yeah. Every day starts running together.
You probably don't remember when I leg dropped you off the top of the entrance. I texted you that the other day when we were out. I leg dropped you off the top of the entrance to a table.
Yeah, and I don't. It's crazy because, I mean, that ought to tell you, if I don't remember Dusty Rhodes, I'm sure it's absolutely zero insult to you that I don't remember you.
No, I'm not insulted at all. I know you're right. I'm just, honored that I got to do it. And I remember doing it because it was a big deal because, the entranceway was at least 10 foot high.
Yeah.
So, and I was nervous about doing a leg drop off it.
Uh-huh.
So, and you were nice enough to lay there on the table and let me do it. You know what I mean?
A hell of a guy. Oh, man.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Hey folks, to get your official Live and in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to prowrestlingtees.com/live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
Going back to that Crystal chick. So I think I saw she was on probably movies that I've never seen, but like some gymnastic stuff. So I guess she was pretty athletic to begin with.
So her athleticism really came in. I think she's a dancer.
Okay.
Super talented, but she really kicked it in high gear because, like a really good actress, but wasn't hard into physically training when she first came in because, she's never been pushed in that field before. So when she first came in, she was just doing mostly like full body workouts and, I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it, what it would be. It just, she wasn't powerlifting. She wasn't lifting heavy. She wasn't, doing these kick-ass workouts that are going to get you jacked and make you stronger. She was just doing, kind of in-shape stuff. And, I want to say more geared towards, females because, but I also don't want to disrespect females because I know a lot of females who train extremely hard, right? But she wasn't bodybuilding or powerlifting. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And
things had to change when she came in with us because she had to be really physical and learn how to do really physical things and do wrestling moves and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So at first she didn't have a lot of confidence because she didn't know anything about it and she never done that before. So she was worried about, not only just hurting herself, but hurting somebody else because she never wrestled and she didn't watch wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to build her up and say, look, I really believe that you can do this because you're talented and you just got to give it a chance. It's intimidating, right? Don't tell me that wrestling's not intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
When you got to get on the top rope or when you got to jump on somebody's shoulders and give them a runner or something like that, you can't tell me that you're not nervous about it because what you're doing is, Wolfie, and this is something I teach at Wildkat, is when you start training for wrestling, you got to teach your body to not do everything instinctively that it would normally do.
Absolutely.
Like put your arms down, tuck your chin, things of that nature. Like when you're going backwards, what's the first thing you want to do is put your arm down to stop your fall. And that's how you break the freaking arm. So
I always see, especially wide receivers that go up for the big catch and you see them get their legs knocked out and they do that. They put their arms back. And I've always thought, man, they need wrestlers to teach them how to take these balls.
Dude, it's funny you say that. I seen it the other day. I'm like, God, he's lucky he didn't break his freaking arm. Yeah. I don't remember what game I was watching, but he caught a pass in the end zone. It might have been the Saints game. And he came down and he put his right arm or left arm down behind him as he came down. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like I thought for sure it was going to snap.
Yeah. So CM Punk comes on the show, and I watched that episode, and I swear to God, I had no idea it was him until that week I saw it on, social media and things that he was on there. I was like, oh shit, that was him.
So you didn't recognize him?
No, I did not.
Holy shit.
No, I didn't, man. I don't know. And plus, I ain't been around him since TNA when he was first breaking into business. So I don't know if it was that or he just looked different there. But the one thing, and I didn't understand, okay? When he said on social media that he based that character on Smothers, somebody that I knew very well, I didn't see that, other than maybe a couple of lines that, resemble something Tracy would say, but the character did not resemble, and I didn't get that. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Okay, yeah, the character wasn't supposed to resemble Smothers. It was his personal, tribute to Smothers.
I got you.
If you watch the match, some of the moves he did was, Tracy Smothers. Some of the lines he said were based around Tracy Smothers. So the character was something different. You can't even remotely compare the two because, Smothers and Ricky Rabies are completely two different ends of the spectrum as far as, characters go.
Yeah.
But what he meant by that was the move. It was he loved Tracy. Tracy was good to a lot of us. And we, as well as I do that Tracy really never got the due that he deserved for as hard as he worked and as much as he loved the business and for as many guys as he helped. So Punk loved Tracy and I love Tracy, and he wanted to just, put in little Easter eggs to say, hey, that's something from Tracy Smothers.
I got you.
Yeah, clickbait take things too far. I thought it was kind of resemblant of Ricky Morton because he brought his son to work part of the...
Yeah, that's the other thing that I was like, that's not Tracy.
Yeah, but, that makes sense because, Ricky Morton, I remember worked on a show and Ricky Morton had his son walking around the ring, so I was like, maybe that's Ricky Morton. But anyway, I definitely love the idea that he was representing Tracy in some way. That's super cool. So to get off that subject, the first thing that I saw is I actually thought I was going to see Wolfie there when they first started showing the Rival promotion. They were using the TNA clips, but I think it was just a bit after Wolfie or Slash had left. But I was about to pop there when I thought I was going to see you on there. So basically, they used TNA because of Right, correct? They're probably the cheapest, best looking, affordable option, would you say?
So we weren't originally supposed to use the TNA clips. The reason we did, again, is it's definitely cheaper to license TNA. But the reason we licensed it is because due to COVID and schedule changes and say a guy would pop with COVID or something, he'd be out 2 weeks and then you'd have to, they'd have to trace whoever had been around him and all that stuff and they'd have to sit out for a certain amount of time. It was really difficult. So it was too much money, with the schedule changes and stuff. We had lost the building at some point because we had it rented out at that time, but the building wasn't available for another time. And you got to think, to set up a couple, days of production, even a day of production, to build a set and to design a set and to do all that stuff, everything that goes along with it costs millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? Especially on a working day, because you got to think of how many guys they got working that day. They got the actors, they got the producers, set deck, construction, everything, wardrobe. So at that point, it was like, hey, we can't build the set we need right now for the Florida Dystopia Wrestling. So we got to license some footage. And then, we did eventually build the set for Florida, and that stuff will come in later on in the series. And that's where actually my character comes from. But, and that's why we licensed this TNA. It had, unfortunately, it was just a time and money constraint due to, with COVID and everything. But like next season, I don't think we would use any. I'm not saying we won't. I'm just saying I don't think we probably will.
Oh, you just said it, and I was going to ask it. I was going to wait until the very end. Is
next
season 2?
Well, it's not confirmed. It's not confirmed. But we're just saying we're hoping for an answer soon, but things are looking really positive because, it's a really, really well done show, and the critic reviews are super duper high.
Yeah, I saw that. So, but how does that? Are the ratings good? Because I looked that up, and honestly, as far as national ratings, I don't have a clue. And because it's different now than when we used to say, hey, in Memphis we got it got a 12 or it got a what? You got to factor in streaming and all that shit now. So what?
But that's the thing, they're not factoring in streaming. They're going ratings that you're seeing online and stuff. And people don't know this. with the ratings that you're seeing online are from the Nielsen ratings box. How many people watch TV live and have the Nielsen? Most people use apps and stuff, and I'm sure there's a way to for them to control the numbers on the streaming. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that is, because being in the business, I'll tell you, we get screwed on residuals. We get screwed on residuals,
I know that.
especially like with Netflix. Here's the deal with say you watch a show on Netflix. Say, Wolfie, let's just say me and you have 2 TV shows on Netflix, right? I have mine, you have yours.
Yeah.
Yours gets 500 million views. Mm-hmm. Well, mine only gets 1 million views. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Netflix don't have to report those numbers. Mm-hmm. So they're going to pay everybody pretty much the same. They spread it out across the board, which is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
and you know this, man, when the WWE Network came out, see, I used to get royalties off only DVDs. That was the only thing that I got for my Nation time, was just being on pay-per-views and stuff like that, how many ever units were sold of DVD. Once the network came out, my check went way down because they don't pay for that shit.
Right. And it is bullshit. And then and here's the thing, it sucks because, let's be honest, not everybody has Starz, right? Most people don't. The majority of people don't have Starz. We're hoping that people order Starz to get this. And Starz is a big network. Starz is a big network, but compared to Netflix or Disney, it's not, right?
Yeah, right.
Starz doesn't have, a quarter of the subscribers that Netflix has.
Right.
So, and most people are like, oh, I'll wait till it comes out on Netflix till I'll watch it. And you're going, well, here's the thing, it's never going to come out on Netflix because Starz and Lionsgate own it, and it's specifically for this channel.
Right.
So
well, I know I ordered it specifically to watch that show. I know Jimmy ordered it specifically to watch that show. So hopefully other people did. And I think a lot of wrestling fans will order it. If you could just get half the wrestling fans out there to order it. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what the numbers
and you mentioned this earlier. There was a deal. I sent you the deal. You sent it to Jimmy. I know we talked about it as well. It's like right now there's like a 3-month deal on Starz for $10. Yeah. You can get Starz for 3 months for $10. Yeah. And then, if you want to cancel after, cancel. But at least, put up the $10 to watch the show and binge watch every episode and watch anything else. Look, we're going into episode 6 this week. Yep. Then I think we have a break for a week, and then we come back with 7 and 8.
Oh, so they're going to take a break on it?
Just 1 week. They're taking 1 week break. And then, and I don't know why they do that. I'm not a network executive or anything, but I know they do have like a 1 week break somewhere in there. Gotcha. But again, if you have the Starz app, or if you get the special, $10 for 3 months, that's nothing.
And the thing is also, when I got to the Starz app, Wolfie told me about the 3 for $10, and I saw that there was a 6 for $20, so I went ahead and got the 6 for $20. Because you know what? I don't have Starz a lot. And Starz, you guys can be a sponsor at any time you want for the Live and in Color with Wolfie D Podcast. But at the same time, it was a good deal, so I went ahead and took it. And now I'm going to watch a little Starz action. I think American Gods and other shows might be kind of cool.
But there's some good shows, there's also a lot of good movies.
Yeah, Heels brought me to the Starz. So, the one thing you were talking about real quick with Netflix and residuals and things like that, it brought up my thoughts on this. Is there a way that they can do that? I mean, is there a way that because they obviously know the movies that people are watching. There's got to be
they signed a deal. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a way to do it. There's definitely a way to do it. It's just not going to get done because it's all political. You know what I mean? Okay. Somebody's working out what's best for the number, the networks and the apps to save money and cut this in. And unfortunately, it's the guys like us that get screwed. Right. It sucks because, you got these producers and these executives who, these departments, these people that make these tons of money and get these big ass bonuses, while the guys who actually put in all the work are the ones who, get screwed over because our residuals are dropping, by the day, especially with streaming networks. And I really get pissed off at people stealing, pirating, films and television shows and music. Right. And look, I get it, right? Everybody wants something for free, but it sucks because, look, you're not going to have a plumber come over to your house. You got to call a plumber and say, hey, man,
right.
Can you work on my tub for free? Can you do my electrical for free? And this is somebody you're related to, and half the time you still pay them. You just might not pay the whole rate, So like us, it's like, this is how I make my living, legit, how I make my living. So, and I spent many years 13 to be exact, of struggling and working 2 or 3 jobs alongside of wrestling and supporting my wrestling habit, and working these jobs to support my habit and to pay my bills. Right. So, like, I didn't start making a full-time living in wrestling and films until 2011. And I started my first match was 99, but I actually started a little bit before that. So it took, many, many, many years. And I had my ups and downs, and I had my good spots, and I was in XPW, and, you got some notoriety from that. Wolfie knows how it is. Like, it sucks because I spent a long time to build my career, and the business has changed so much that you got to be smart with your money. Like, when I make money, I don't go blow it. I don't buy fancy toys. Everything's. I'm trying to take care of I come from nothing, bro. I come from nothing. I'm a first generation everything. Yeah. So, I'm the first person in my family to graduate high school. Gotcha. So, yeah. And I'm 40 years old, and I just bought a house, right? I owned my first house at 40 years old. I didn't pay for it outright, but, nobody in my family owns a house. Yeah. So it's different, and I'm doing my best to ensure that my future will be okay and that I can one day retire. And, I made a joke earlier. Somebody tagged me in a post on Instagram of an XPW of me in 2002 getting thrown off a scaffold, like a 20-foot scaffold to a table. And somebody commented and they said, "What did you think while you were doing this?" And I made a joke and I put in quotation marks, "Fuck, I don't have health insurance." Right. And then somebody commented on it and said, "Hey, but it turned you into the movie star that you are today." And I commented back and I said, "Yes, and now I have health insurance." You know what I mean?
So we hadn't talked about this part yet, and I don't think your character in the show has come on yet, right?
No, episode 7.
And you told me his name is Asshole. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, Asshole is my everyday character. Yeah.
Where does this name come from? Why is he called the Hole?
Well, his real name is Davenport. But his character, the wrestler's name is the Hole. And they allude to him in, I think, in episode 3 when Mary McCormick, who plays Willie, is sitting at the table with Mike O'Malley, who plays Gully. She says something about the Hole, and he goes, "Oh yeah, the Hole. He's my guy. He gets heat." You know what I mean? Because she's disrespecting me and saying that they're like, Yeah. So like they keep alluding to me a couple times in the series, and then finally, my character comes out towards the end, which is really cool. It's a cool opportunity to play it, and I got a good bit of dialogue, and we did some amazing things. I can't wait. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the show in general, and to see all the work that we put in. But, of course, you're going to be excited for yourself. And then, my son plays the referee. So you see all the dialogue and stuff. My son does, and he's my tag team partner. We do the father-son tag team thing. But what's cool about that is when they casted him to be the referee. The reason, like, he had auditioned himself. He was the assistant wrestling coordinator, and he's in a lot of films, and he does a lot of work. But the cool thing about it was all his dialogue on the show, they let him. So, like, when he had an audition, like, he did his scripted lines for the audition, but then they made him go ad-lib with the showrunner. And they had to go back and forth. And he did such a good job, they said, okay, well, we don't need to write your, they want him in the ring because of the actors were wrestling. And Wolfie, this, is the referee could leave because he's the one with the experience. So we could shoot things, and Perry could talk to him and tell him what to do and where to go. And, So that's why they wanted Perry to play the referee. But he did have to do a good job in audition, and then he did such a good job with it. Like, there was only a couple lines that were scripted. Everything else, they were like, "Hey, just say and do what you would naturally do, Perry. Do you. Fill that role out. Play that role." So it was cool to see, especially on screen, to see him just be comfortable in the role and naturally, just knock it out the park going off of his experience.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'll tell you, man, this has been a great episode, and I'm super envious of you in this situation, man. I've done I've been on Joe Kenta, what is that show on Discovery, The Homicide Hunter. I played a bouncer, had some speaking lines. I did another show like that where I was a bouncer type guy again. Done a couple of TV commercials with one of the Tennessee Titans back in the day, things like that. And I've always wanted to get into stunt work. I really had pursued that at one point, but There was nothing close to where I lived as far as a school or anything like that. So I'm super envious of you in that you are being able to do this wrestling show. And man, he said your payment at the beginning, but I'm telling you, your payments get me a cameo on this damn show.
The truth is, I'll tell you like I tell everybody else, this is the truth. So my job is like, I got my job, right? I'm settled in my job and I'm doing my thing and I'm blessed to have it. Right. But my job now is to provide as many opportunities to guys like yourself that I can. So when something comes in, like if it fits everything's description based mostly, except like Battle Royals, but mostly like the characters will be description based. The reason all these wrestlers were on the show is I hired all these wrestlers.
Yeah, and most Buku on there. I worked him when I worked for Matt Riviera's group.
Okay.
A while back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but some of these guys, like, I had a lot of wrestlers audition for roles because I would read, I'd say, sometimes guys wouldn't be available, so it couldn't work, but there was times where, like, they wanted to cast these wrestlers in acting roles, and they already had wrestling gigs, so they couldn't pull out of them to film, or they were doing, or they couldn't get off their regular job for 3 weeks or 4 weeks to film, and because then they were like, hey, I wouldn't have a regular job to come back to if I did that, and this is it sucks, but it's also cool because, like I said, there were guys that we got to provide opportunity for, and there was guys who would have got opportunities but just couldn't make it work. So like when we do come back, once I get these scripts and I break down things, if something fits your description, I'm going to call you and say, hey, I need you to audition, or do you want to audition for this? And this is what I need you to do. And I'm not biased to who's my friend or not. Like I go, who's the best fit for the job, and who do I think fits this? Right. So, and I go down my Rolodex of people I know. And then that's how we hit. So you never know, man. You never know. You might be in there.
Jimmy has this segment, Current Affairs, where he's going to ask you some questions. He also does this segment where he throws names at me, and I got to answer this. And I'm going to give you just one name, and you give me your best description of this. PG-13.
See, PG-13, that's where I was going to go. I was actually about to stop you and say, before we go into this next segment, can I just say one thing? Like, I got to tell you, I'm heartbroken that we will probably never get the opportunity to wrestle PG-13, me and my son, because I think what we're doing is phenomenal, and I think it's really groundbreaking. And you see, we were like the first people to do this. I'm not saying like it's never been done before, as well. Like Dustin and Dusty teamed up a couple times, but like we were the first ones to run as a full-time tag team. And then as soon as we did it, people started taking our ideas. WWE did it with Ray and Dominic. And they do a good job, but it's like, we were doing it first, and we don't get a lot of the credit we deserve. Yeah. But that's wrestling, right? That's what always happens. But I was really hoping that someday Perry and I, Hawx area, could wrestle PG-13 because of how much I look up to you guys. And I think you guys were groundbreaking.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't think you guys get the credit that you guys deserve because it was just a different era. You guys were like you said, you were the young, punk, smart mouth kids, and you guys were often a lot smaller than everybody else. Right. But look at how much you guys got to do. Yeah. And I remember the heat you guys used to draw. And for me, you'll never see that again. We will never, ever see that again, especially in the time that we're living in.
Yeah. So, and you know why that is? When I tell everybody that the heat for the heel is gone, it's because, back in the day, man, you could make people mad for real. It's like now, Luke, I can't make you mad if I'm trying to make you mad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, not only that, if you do, they're going to complain about it, and they're going to attack you personally.
When you get the real heat, I got us kicked out of. I was halfway booking that Arcadian wrestling that Chase was a part of, and the Grumpy Bell Bonds lady and all that stuff. I was pretty much the booker on a lot of that stuff. And they went with my ideas, and I completely got us kicked out of Springfield, Tennessee, because I had Derek King come out with Tracy Smothers with a rebel flag on, and hang. They had him hang me. So a black guy with a rebel flag is hanging somebody, and the principal he lost his mind. He kicked us out, wrote a big letter. I'm like, it's a fucking word.
Yeah, it's just a show. But here's the best thing, bro. We can go on for days about this, but they're attacking comedians. They're trying to get comedians canceled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's going, the business goes back to what we said earlier. It's shifted so much from, and they couldn't do it. Norm Macdonald just died 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald was one of the last of like the great pioneers, right? Like his character, his delivery, the way he carried himself, the things he said, like they just. Like, if you go watch comedians, and I'm getting on a whole different subject, but I'm very passionate about it.
I'm with you, though. I'm with you. And even here's the thing that trips me out. A movie, okay? A heel in a movie can pretty much do and say any fucking thing and nobody bats an eye. But because even though we tell them wrestling is scripted, there's still a little bit of believability to it. I don't care what anybody says, and that's why exactly. But that's why they're shoot mad when you do shit like that. When you push the right button, it's just people are too scared to push those buttons. And when you do, the culture now is to cry and complain about shit and get it canceled. We know that. So there's no way to get that type of heat anymore where you're actually pushing those buttons. Because even in the fucking 70s and shit like that, before Vince came out or whatever, people still had a inkling that wrestling was fixed. But and when I talk to people, I've said this before, you tell somebody you're a wrestler, oh yeah, I know what y'all do is fake. They love that word. I know what y'all do is fake. But there was this one time I went with my grandpa to see so-and-so and so-and-so, and that, man, he was for real mad that night. I swear to God, he's talking to me like I don't fucking know, you know?
Right. And that's real, and that's what ECW did for me. You know, I always had an inclination as a kid because it was told to me a million times that WWF was fake. I didn't want to believe it, but as you get older, you start to see things, and you see, and it's not fake, it's just fixed, it's entertainment. But, you know, you see like the Hulk Hogan put the boot up and a guy runs into it, you know, like, and you're going, hey, well, that was kind of hokey. But then you turn on ECW and you go, that's real. You know what I mean? Like, the things they were saying, the things you guys said, and the things the Dudley Boy said, and then you go back to Memphis, and you watch, like, Jerry Lawler, bro. Go back and watch that Jerry Lawler shit, and you're like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's the stuff I thrive off of. I was watching the Kaufman shit a couple weeks ago just because, like, I go back and I go, man, look how special this stuff was. It's unfortunate that we can't get those special times again, you know, and there's so many guys. And I'm going to ask you a favor. I'm going to ask you on air. Yeah. If you have any old videos or there's stuff online of y'all doing things or like any ECW stuff or Memphis stuff, please send it to me, bro. If you got anything online, please Dropbox it to me. Do whatever you got to do because I like to study that stuff. And I like to show
a lot of it's on YouTube. I actually had a person, I'm not going to mention his fucking name, that stole all my career basically was in 2 totes on VHS tapes. And I had a person steal those from me because I lent them to him to do a project, and he stole them from me. But I had stuff that nobody had. But at any rate, there's a lot of it on YouTube. So you can either search PG-13 or Wolfie D or Disciples of the New Church or, you know, whatever it is, part of my shit you want to see. But, man, again, thank you for coming on here.
Luke, again, we thank you so much. We know you're part of the past. You've had a great history starting in 99. You've had a great history both in wrestling and in movies and TV shows. But you're also part of the current here. So as we head into this next segment, PJ, hit the music.
It's a current affair. It's a current affair. Love it in color. It's a current affair. Love it in color.
All right, we're back. Again, one more time, Luke, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. So this part of the show, we like to peek a little bit into the current, try to see what your thoughts are on certain things. So I am a little jealous because I think someone has seen the final 2 episodes of Heels and hasn't shared it with the rest of us. And that is Karrion Kross, because it looks like he borrowed, from what I've seen of the Hole's outfit, he has borrowed your wardrobe. Is there?
It's different. It's different. And see, like, so Laura Bauer designed that outfit, but like I had some input and some ideas, and it was actually my idea to do the they wanted the hole to be like a leather type, fishnet type guy.
Okay.
And they had these different outfits they had me try on 3 or 4 different ones. But I had the idea, like I wanted, Demolition was one of my favorite tag teams growing up.
I was going to say that.
So before the Eliminators, Demolition was my favorite tag team as a kid. Like I didn't like Road Warriors or anything else like that. Like for some reason I was just a Demolition guy, right? So I wanted to do it like a little tribute. So I asked for the thing that goes across the chest. I don't know what they call it, or that thing, and that was specifically made for me. But I showed them the ideas, and then like we kind of tied everything in together. Then a Karrion Kross character, who, by the way, super freaking talented. Dude's a monster, right? The dude is a monster.
100%. Yeah.
But they just changed him all up. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words because nobody knows what I do. They go, okay, you're on NXT one night and you're doing this and you're murdering guys and you got this look and, you got this valet and everything's cool and you got this cool entrance. And then you go to television and they go, we completely change your character the next day. We take away the hot girl and we also take away your music. So everybody always goes, what the fuck, right? Everybody.
Right.
Now, some guys take that and run with it. How many guys thought that Kane was going to be dead after they took his mask off? Look how many characters and things Kane went through. So I love Kevin. His real name's Kevin. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great talent. He's an extremely hard worker. Very, very, very unmastered actually in the work department because he was always putting out promos and doing things on his own. Very good on social media. Always training hard. You didn't have to tell that guy to do what he needs to do, right? Most guys need to be told what to do. He didn't have to be told because he was just a hard worker. I'm hoping that he takes his character and he turns it around and he just, sticks it up their ass and hits a home run because the guy's talented. And who doesn't want to pull for a hard worker, right?
Me too, right.
You don't, there's no politics involved. If you're a hard worker and you're a good person, I want to see you win.
Right.
Yeah. And again, nothing against Karrion. I know you've recorded those scenes months ago now, so.
Oh yeah, and then they had one picture come out, like the Emmys did a nice article on me a few weeks ago when the magazine came out, and I think we filmed that before Karrion's entrance and all that, so that picture was up. I'm not saying they weren't influenced by it. I don't know. I can't say he stole anything. I guarantee you this though, it's not him. We all know it's not up to him for what he does. He's going to pitch his ideas, but there's a writing team. There's producers there who come up with those characters and those looks and and whatever they're going to do. So I look, and if he is doing it off of me, that's even cooler because then you've influenced somebody, right? Which we all want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, thank you for clearing that up with me there, Luke. The second one is super simple, man. What are you currently working on? You got anything you can tell us that's coming out soon, or anything fun that you want to talk about?
I'm currently working on getting my ass kicked by this hurricane that just hit here and wiped out South Louisiana.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, everything's kind of on pause right now. I was coordinating and playing a role in this Disney show called Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion, so I did a few weeks on that, and now that's kind of on hold. So everything's kind of on hold right now because everything I was filming down here is paused. But I got some things going on. I just filmed a couple of different television shows. I filmed that. I filmed a show called We Have a Ghost on Netflix. And I had more stuff on that, but again, that's all on pause, so I don't know what the hell's going on with that as well. What else did I do? I got a movie dropping, probably on Netflix with Dolph Lundgren soon. He directed it. It's shit. I can't. It's like Wolfie. Like I can't even think of the names because it's so much, right?
Right.
But I got that dropping soon. Dolph Lundgren.
Where can they find you on social media? What's all your social media handles and stuff?
Well, my wrestling stuff is at Wildkat Sports, cat with a K, K-A-T, Wildkat Sports. You can Instagram, whatever, Facebook, Twitter. And here's the thing is we drop a lot of free content on YouTube. We've been putting up a lot of old stuff as well as new stuff. So if you love good wrestling, especially Southern wrestling, where it's not, spot fest stuff and choreographed and, the fans get involved and the fans, they're cheering the baby faces and they're booing the heels, Wildkat Sports is the place for you. So please go check out our YouTube. We got a lot of good free content on it. And, we have so many talented guys that don't really get the recognition that they deserve, and they're extremely hard workers just because of where we're at. We're not in the Northeast or the West Coast where there's a lot of spotlight on us. But these guys most of them were in heels as well. You'll see these guys in the background in heels and doing some of the matches with heels as well, or playing characters on the show. So, please follow the Wildkat stuff. And then if you want to follow me personally, it's at Luke Hawx 504. It's LUKEHAWX 504. So that's across all social media.
During the course of this interview, something that I've put together here, I don't know, maybe I'm just slow and everybody's put it together before me, but the correlation between you and your son and the Wildkat Wrestling compared to Ace and Jack and the Duffy Wrestling League is spot on, right?
Well, there's a reason I'm there. Let's just put it like that. There's a reason I'm the guy for the job. Yeah. This wasn't something where they wanted, some guy who'd been off of TV, and was a world heavyweight champion. I had the film experience. I know cameras, I know directing, I know kind of, all that stuff. So it was like, hey, and this is kind of loosely based off of me. They didn't write it off of me, but they're like, this is your life, and we know what you're doing, and we know. So people are paying attention to what I do. So that's really cool. And it's honor. I'm honored to just have that opportunity, and I'm really honored to work with such a great team of people. I've never worked with a company where I'm serious from top to bottom. Everybody just got along. Everybody put their heart in. Everybody worked hard. And everybody just wanted to work together. Because Wolf, damn well. I mean, even in a regular job, how much you struggle and how you don't like this person or how you got to fight for this or this is one of those rare times where everybody came together and was just happy to be together. So, and we all worked hard. Yeah, it's good, man.
Super awesome, man. And then thank you for coming on again. I'm glad we did this interview. This has been great. Jimmy, you got anything? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, man, I got one more thing to say. Again, like Wolfie said, thank you so much. Now, on this podcast, as it's coming up, we're telling the story of Wolfie D. And as we go, we're letting people hear, his details from his start to his current to wherever it leads us in the future. The one thing I do feel like is going to happen is some sort of PG-13 biopic. So we would like to go ahead and ask you to play Wolfie D in the biopic, okay?
Hey, it's good. I got the bald head, so... I got the fucking ball. I could be more of a Flash character, but we'll go back and I'll do the whole thing. Hey, seriously, I really appreciate you guys because Wolfie, I mean, I've told you before, I'm a big fan, and I really respect the things you and Jamie have done, and I don't think you guys get enough credit for what you've done and what you deserve. And I hope one day I can be around you, and I hope that, more and spend some time together, and I hope that my son can be around you and learn from you too, because that's a big part that's missing from the wrestling community nowadays. As the blinds teaching the blind, and it's indie guys with indie guys, and they don't get to spend the time. And I really hope that, I can be around you just to learn some things from you, and my son can learn some things from you. So,
man, you gave me cold chills, brother. Thank you for saying that again. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, this has been Live and in Color with Wolfie D. For Jimmy Street, for Luke Hawx, it's Wolfie saying see you next week.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is The Big Picture, Michael Jablonski. Don't forget to tune in every week to Jablonski's Pissed Off on the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling YouTube channel.
The hot in the sport, he's gonna tell you all about it. He doesn't care what you think, you're gonna hear all about it. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. He's pissed off.
you're a fan of rock and music, I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment to check out my podcast. It's called the Decibel Geek Podcast. We've been doing it for about 10 years now. We talk about Kiss. We talk about Ozzy. We talk about Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and Metallica. We talk about all the legends from the 60s and on, up to brand new bands that you should be hearing about today that you're not going to hear on the radio. It's Decibel Geek. Wherever you find your podcasts, you'll find us there. If you love rock and roll, I can almost guarantee you're going to love my show.
In a world that has been completely divided for so long, two movie fans have decided to unite for the people and the betterment of mankind. One, an action movie buff.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
The other, a horror movie fanatic. Together, they will try to bridge the gap of both genres into one podcast with their battle cry, "Give me back my action and horror movies." Listen along as Charlie and Nate alternate each week talking about action and horror movies they cherish, mostly from the VHS era. Also, including some modern examples that felt like the movies they grew up with by answering the battle cry, "Give me back my action and horror movies." Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Look them up on Facebook and Instagram.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at WarrenWolf13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Live Wolfie D. And then on YouTube at Live and in Color with Wolfie D Podcast. Our website is anchor.fm/WolfieD. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. Also, do you have a product or business you'd like Wolfie D to talk about? Let us know about it by leaving a recorded message over at anchor.fm/WolfieD/message. Leave your name and contact info and we'll get back to you. Once again, that's anchor.fm/WolfieD/message. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening. And we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome. And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still live and in color. Don't rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was NOD, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip-hopping. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up Then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. Huh. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.